Welcome into Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I am Todd Ullom. This show is brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling. With me for the first segment, head coach of West Liberty football, Roger Wiley. Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This past week, the Toppers had to travel up near Pittsburgh and take on a Division I squad, something that pretty much anybody in the country, they hear Division II going to play Division I, they're going to expect a big blowout or something of that sort. This time, not so much. The Toppers only fell by 2 scores, 28-14. The Colonials were up 21-0 early in the third, but that's when the Toppers kind of turned things around. It ended up 28-14. It was one of those where it kind of felt like the clock was kind of the enemy at the end.
Yeah, the clock, and we didn't take advantage of the opportunities we had in the first half. Again, we sputtered in the red zone. I mean, we very easily could have been 14-14 going in half. We had it inside, and then we had another scoring opportunity, missed the field goal. So, again, I'm not into moral victories. We had the opportunity to make some plays to maybe have a little different outcome, and we didn't make the plays in the opportune time. And so, that's one thing we got to do. I was happy with our effort. Our effort got better. We played harder, but in the same sense, you have to make the plays when presented the opportunities. And, I think we threw a pick going into the end zone. We lost it on downs. At that point in time of the game, I got to put some confidence. We're lacking a little confidence down there. And things happen a lot faster in the red zone. They got less field to protect. So we have to get better in those situations if we expect to win games. We got to be able to punch it in and methodically score at times.
And it was in this game, once again, it seems like all 3 games this year, the passing offense has been able to move this ball in chunky yardage. And then you've seen the times where once you get down there, they're able to run that football in with the running game. And it's kind of nice back and forth there, balance with the offense. How do you see the offense through the first 3 games?
We still have to become more balanced. You have to run the balls effectively and you throw it if you want to be successful. You can't just rely on one thing. And it's not necessarily being 50-50 run to pass. It's being effective in both aspects. You got to be able to throw the ball and run the ball. If you want to be a good offense, and we're evolving to that, but we haven't reached it yet. And I guess that's the one thing that I thought because of our skill that we have offensively, we'd be putting up more points, and we haven't for some reason. And so that's for us as coaches to get adjustments and find out what we need to do. I think we had some problems injury-wise on the offensive line, and I thought the 2 kids that went in and played tackle did okay. And normally, when I don't see them, that means they're doing okay. Usually when your offensive lineman sticks out, he's getting beat. And so, but offensively, I think we've underachieved to this point. We have the capabilities of putting up way more points than we have. But obviously that's indicative of the scores and us being 0-3 at this time.
Defensively for the Toppers in this game, they were put in a couple bad spots with turnovers and things of that nature. Gave up just 28 points. They also forced some turnovers, some takeaways as well. How do you feel they played in this one?
They got better. I mean, obviously they were going to try to run the ball at us because they were much bigger and much, and we knew that going in, that they were just going to try to pound us. And we're able to cause some fumbles when the running backs, and so that was a good thing. But, overall, the effort is getting better and better. And, as coaches, I tell our players, that's one of the first things we tell them in the first meetings. If we got to coach effort, we're in trouble. Effort has to be a given, and we weren't getting the effort in spots. And we've addressed it. We've been working on it. We've changed some of the things we do at practice just to get that response from them to understand that effort has to be a given. And then you can, as coaches, you can get into the X's and O's side of the game. But right now, we got to push them to play at the same effort from playing to play out. Because if you look at it, it's same thing we talked about last week is the inconsistency is caused by inconsistent effort. And, either I told the coaches replace them. If they're not going to give effort every play, replace them, and that's it. So
We'll move on from the game against Robert Morris. Now the Toppers get into their conference schedule. You have to travel to Frostburg, not an easy task. One of two teams that is still undefeated in Mountain Conference play, or Mountain East Conference play. Again, Frostburg, when they came into this conference, they were a winning club down in the Division III. They've continued to be that way in Division II. Winning football is winning football, and they've kind of got things going there. What can we expect to see from Frostburg?
Well, defensively, they give you a lot of different looks. Not as much as Seton Hill, so to say, but they're aggressive. They will blitz. They'll play a lot of man-to-man against us. They will, run a lot of stunts up front. They will try to not only confuse you but out-physical you, and they do play hard. And that's the one thing that, when we turn on the tape, that's the first thing you notice is how hard they play defensively. And it's the same way offensively. They're going to try to run the ball at us and take shots down the field. Their quarterback is a very good player. He's a good decision maker. And you see last year, I think they were undefeated until he got hurt, and then they kind of went into a little bit of tailspin at the end of the year. So, and they're good up front. So they really have no weaknesses. We got to be prepared to play, just like we were last week. And we got to come out. We have to outwork them. We got to out-hustle them, and we got to play harder than them.
We've seen some great games between West Liberty and Frostburg in the past. I have no doubt in my mind it'll be the same this coming weekend. I asked Coach if they were going to travel down the day before, maybe get a little rest, a little easy on the day trip, but not so much for the Toppers this time. That trip to, I guess, it's not quite as bad as Shepherd was it?
No, Shepherd, we spent the night. Normally the norm is anything over 3 hours. We spend the night. Anything under 3 hours, we go the day of, just monetarily. Sometimes you can't fit it into the budget or it doesn't make sense. Obviously you would want to spend the night every time you go on the road, but, that's sometimes not. Division I teams, they spend the night when they're at home. Yep. So, it's different on each level on how you have to, attack things and the way things are set up. And, it's been like that for a long time. And, that can't be an excuse, because there's some teams that, we don't spend the night, they spend the night, and vice versa. So, I don't want it to be an excuse for our players. We're going to get up, we're going to eat, we're going to get on the bus, we're going to roll there, get off the bus, stretch, and let's go. Going into this game against one of the top teams in the conference, what's kind of the theme of the week for the Toppers? It's just the same thing. We need, effort, attitude, and discipline. And I thought for the most part this year we have been disciplined. We haven't gotten, I would say, a lot of the dumb fouls, the personal fouls, and now I say that, you better knock on wood. But we haven't had those, and it's been a extreme change over last year, because last year that's what was our Achilles heel. We couldn't keep our mouths shut. And some of those guys are no longer with us. And so the understanding that, all you can control is your play on the field. And I don't want the other theatrics, the running of the mouth, running your mouth don't win you football games. It's execution, blocking, and tackling, and playing harder than the other team, and that's what it comes down to. Well, Coach, thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us for the show. Good luck at Frostburg State. Again, folks, it'll be Frostburg coming up this Saturday down at Frostburg, so be sure to pay attention and check in on those scores and watch the game from down there. Coming up next, or we will have a quick break, and we'll come back for more on Inside Hilltoppers Athletics.
From the long-lasting and reliable heating and cooling systems we send out the door, to the friendly and knowledgeable dealers who go the extra mile. With a no-hassle replacement limited warranty, you can trust day and night to deliver outstanding service and performance, keeping you a step ahead with advanced technology and exceptional comfort. To find a day and night dealer, visit dayandnightcomfort.com.
Welcome back to Inside Hilltopper Athletics, brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling. For this segment, the head coach of men's and women's cross country, Michael Gwynn. Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Not too bad this past weekend. The Toppers on the same course they were for their first event, but this one, the Bethany Invitational, and sure enough, the men's side had a clean sweep.
Yeah, it was a good run for the men and the women. Both competed very hard. Seeing some good competition. Guys side, the race unfolded pretty common to the way we thought it would. Kind of had a couple guys get out with a couple guys from a couple other teams. We had a big pack right behind that pack. We were 1-2 for most of the race, and then Francis was able to catch up and be in third. And then we had a couple freshmen that were able to finish off fourth and fifth for us. We had a little bit of sickness this week going into the races, so we were kind of a little banged up. Kind of the sickness that we were good going into the race, and they got started, and then just kind of hit a few of them. So excited to see where we go this next. We've got a couple weeks off now before we race again in October, so we're going to really just try to get healthy and kind of taming back the workout this week a little bit, just get everybody's legs back under them. Next week we got some pretty big workouts from TAP, and then just kind of then we'll kind of dial in a little bit more for this big race in Louisville, Kentucky, which we're really excited for. It'll be our first time going to Louisville and getting to run that course. I ran it when I was in college. I'm sure it's a lot different than it was when I was in school, but it's a pretty fast course. We'll get to see a lot of really good Division I, Division II, and Division III and NAIA teams there. So you'll get to see some of the big dog D1s run, and then also we'll get to see some competition from our conference and regional levels as well. So
Yeah, I mean, through the first two races, I know it was the same course, but is the team kind of where you wanted them to be after this one?
Yeah, so the course it was similar to the same. So the girls actually added 1,000 meters to their race. So they ran 6,000 meters. So that was the first 6K for a lot of our freshman girls. So, it was a good, just kind of a good to be at home, something they're familiar with. Yeah. They knew what the course was going to be like a little bit. That last hill on that course is pretty brutal, so they knew that was going to be a part of it. We had one of our girls go down in the middle of the race. She kind of fell, caught herself, got back up. Took her about a mile to get back into the rhythm, but she was able to catch up and got herself back up with the group that she needed to be with. So we're just continuing to just put things together. Like I said, we've still got some sicknesses on the girls and guys side that are kind of holding us back a little bit, trying to check a few things, just make sure that they're healthy right now. With distance runners, you can have anemia and things like that. So we a couple that were a little feeling tired a little bit. So it could be the training, could be they're having some issues with some dietary issues and things like that. So we're trying to be on top of all those things and make sure that we're checking all the boxes so that we can be where we want to be when championship season gets around.
Yeah, I keep hearing there's some illnesses going around the valley. Just everybody's getting some stuff right now.
Flu and COVID and everything, it seems like. So, there's a lot going around.
In this one, the women's team finished third overall. Not too shabby for the ladies. Yep. Pretty good for them. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel that the last time we spoke, you said that in this Bethany Invitational, there might be some younger runners that get a little bit more of an opportunity. How do you feel they did?
I think we did really well. We had a lot of freshman girls in our top five. So that was that's been a key for us all season. We've got some upperclassmen that are still our number one this week. Was Lacey Dimmitt. She came in and when Lexi went down in that at around mile 2, Lacey went up to the lead and did what she always does. She's been for the past 2 years. She raced really hard and she was really close to being right around her best time. Actually, I think it was her best time on this course, to be truthfully honest. So we're in the right spots. Just trying to get that pack a little bit smaller. Just want to get that time between 1 and 5 gap down a little bit. We got a little bit too much time in between 1 and 5, so working on that. Our 3, 4, 5, they run really, really tight together. We just got to get that 3, 4, 5 closer to our 1, 2, and if we do that, then we're going to knock some teams off that we think we can.
And I know we talk about it, or we will talk about it quite often when it comes to cross country. Just the course conditions. I know the first race you guys had, there was rain a couple days before, the day of as well. I'm trying to remember. Yep. This time, was it a little more dry? Were the times faster?
Yeah, well, it was dry, but it was hot. Yeah. The girls' race was not, I wouldn't say ideal conditions, but was not as warm. But when the guys got on the course, the sun was out, beating down on us, and it was pretty warm. Kind of telling them before the race, make sure you get yourselves get your hair wet, get your singlet a little bit wet, make sure you're rinsing your mouth out so your mucous membranes are wet, just trying to get all those things done so that they're on the right page and ready to race. And they did a good job at doing that. They were prepared, and heat issues in a long race like that can cause problems. So, we've had, a couple of our freshmen are learning how to deal with those conditions. They had some issues in the past in high school where, they've gotten into those hot races and not done well. But, we had a lot of kids, or a lot of the team on the guys and girls side were able to navigate that this time, so it was good. It wasn't as hot as it could have gotten, but it definitely warmed up probably about 10, 15 more degrees in the guys' race. So.
Yeah, and you add in some of the illnesses some of the kids had, and I don't know how everybody else is at home. It kind of just depends on what I'm sick with, whether or not that sunshine and heat is going to help me or make me feel better or make me feel worse. So absolutely. I can only imagine what it's like for the poor kids running that course. I do not envy them in that situation whatsoever. You head, as you said, to Louisville coming up on October 4th, I believe. The opportunity, as you said, to get to race against Division I and all of the divisions pretty much of college athletics. Is there some excitement with the teams?
Yeah, because they break those races down and they'll be like a gold, blue, black, white. There's different race levels. So they have a seeding committee that will seed the race and put us in the race that they feel was appropriate for us based off of our performances of these first two meets. I'll send an email with some just telling them where I feel like we are at and things like that, and they'll take that into consideration. But we'll get in a good race regardless. And hopefully we'll get a race against some really, really good competition and help pull us to some really fast times and some PR times, and then hopefully we beat some teams that are in our region or that we maybe will face, or maybe that are in our region or in another region, and we can get some head-to-head wins and help ourselves, for hopefully our regional ranking, and as well as if we are close to the top five at our regional level, there's some outside bid things that can happen and things like that. So,
well, Coach, I want to tell you this before we end the segment. I know that you've only done a few of these coaches shows so far as the new head coach. You're getting very good at it because you're already answering questions before I can even ask them. I was going to ask about the break before you head to Louisville, but you're already talked about that and going to get a little bit of a bye week and some rest and relaxation, get everybody fired up and ready to go. Coach, thank you so much for being here with us today. Any final thoughts from this past week?
I just we're just hopeful that we'll get healthy here soon, and then have a long run here where we stay healthy, and the training just keeps building on itself. So that's the big thing for us. If we can do that, then we'll be in a good spot. It's these sicknesses and injuries, and when if you get those and they compound on top of each other, and you miss blocks of training, then that's when the times start to fluctuate a little bit. So hopefully we'll stay healthy and get through this. And the team's in a good spot right now. We're running really well. And I think that we got a lot of big things ahead of us.
Well, again, Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Good luck when you head down to Louisville for the October 4th race. Folks at home, don't go anywhere. We're going to be coming right back for another segment of Inside Hilltopper Athletics.
From humble beginnings in 1837, West Liberty University has been home to thousands of students. Whether you're a recent high school graduate or looking to complete a college degree later in life, starting your educational career at West Liberty University will be the catalyst for your future. This is a place where you will discover who you are and where you belong, surrounded by lifelong friends and a supportive faculty and staff. Start your journey home at westliberty.edu.
Welcome back to Inside Hilltopper Athletics, brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling. This segment is men's soccer. Head coach Sean Regan is with us. Coach, welcome back to the show, and a pretty good week for Topper soccer.
Yeah, it started off well. Away to D&E, who's traditionally been a top 25 powerhouse. So to come away with a draw was huge for us. We were down 1-0. They were kind of dominating. We got 2 quick fire goals to make it 2-1 at halftime. And then unfortunately we gave up 1 late, but we just played really well that game. D&E was a good side. I think on the day they were better than us, but that kind of draw felt like a little bit of a moral victory.
I got to assume the effort is something you were pretty pleased with in this one. Like you said, not an easy place to play. The competition is very difficult at D&E. Going into this game, what was kind of the message to the team?
Yeah, it was like we needed a statement game. Okay, that was the big thing. We said that, we played well against Wheeling, we did okay against Seton Hill, but this is a team was preseason ranked second in the conference. It's going to battle to get into the NCAA tournament. So it was going to take every ounce of what we had, and we left everything on the field. Guys were physically shattered afterwards, like getting drug off the field, and now they know what it takes to get a point, let alone the 3 points. So morale was very high after the game. It was a good result.
And after this one, and I mean, I don't want to take too much attention away from that. I know it was a draw, but that's a big one for the Toppers in this team. Travis Scandelis, we'll just say it now, was the Mountain East Conference Offensive Player of the Week for men's soccer. He had a goal in this one. Was it nice to see some of these guys stepping up, or were there some guys that maybe you didn't expect to have as great a game as they did, and against this competition did step up?
Yeah, we played a deep bench that game. Guys were running that hard that we made subs. Some guys made their debut, the third game of the season against them. So it was definitely a collective team effort for sure. And now we've gotten some scoring from some different areas. We've had a couple guys score goals here and there, up top, or on the wing, in the midfield. So now that the love is being spread around the field, which makes things a little bit easier. It's not all focused on just one or two guys, so that kind of helped us against D&E, and then falling obviously into Cal.
When we talk about Cal, I'm not as familiar with their soccer program. What's kind of their history, their recent history when it comes to soccer?
Yeah, so they're always kind of like a mid-table PSAC school on the west side. It's always been a Mercyhurst and Gannon-dominated conference. Now Mercyhurst is now Division I, but Gannon is far and away better than everybody else. So they've always kind of been battling for 2 and 3 with Slippery Rock and Seton Hill as the next best team in that league. So they've got beautiful soccer-only complex. They're a bunch of Western Pennsylvania guys. They're just big, strong, physical. They work really hard. The first 10 minutes, they got all over us. There was a home game. They were 2-0, hadn't conceded a goal yet. So they had a lot of life. And then once we kind of controlled the game and tempo, I would say probably for the next 80 minutes, we dominated the game. And unfortunately not to score before the half. And we left it late, but in the end we got 2, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, the Toppers beat Cal in that one. It was a great job for the Toppers again, knowing that Travis Scandelis gets the Mountain East Conference Offensive Player of the Week. Talk about his year so far.
Yeah, so he's a transfer. He was at Alfred in New York, and he was a Rookie of the Year for the conference. He scored a few goals. I think he was first team all conference, and he transferred to Division I Gardner Webb for the springtime. Didn't really get the opportunities that I thought he was going to get there. So he kind of settled on Division II is going to kind of be his level, and he's done well. He scored a really good goal against D&E. Ball clipped over the top, and he's got some pace, and just outran the center back and slotted it home very nicely. But his goal against Cal was something of beauty. I mean, he got the ball out wide, and he just dinked it over top of him, and I was literally about to rip his head off because I was like, that's the wrong shot selection. And when it hit the back of the net, I was like, oh, okay, I'll let him go. It was all right.
So it was a little Mike Holmgren, Brett Favre, like, no. Okay, that works. Nobody but you can do that. Okay, we'll take that. As the Toppers move on, they have to go to Frostburg on Wednesday. I believe. What are the second conference matchup so far this year?
So this will be third conference.
Third, okay, yeah.
Frostburg, very difficult place to play.
Yes.
They have a super small field. It's only 64 yards. Ours is 80. It's got soccer, football, men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, field hockey lines on it. So it's got every single, like you can't even figure out what the soccer lines are when you're trying to take a throw in. So it makes it super tight. So that causes problems. So we have to, last night at practice, we brought the cones out and made our field super small so we can work on things, being under pressure a little bit more than normal. Because it's a difficult place to get to. It's a little bit colder down there in the mountains of Maryland and everything like that, and it's a night game. And then historically, over the course of this past 7 years, we have the winning record of them. But last year they beat us in the playoffs, so all of our guys have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder that are returning, saying, "Hey, we thought we were the better team last year than they were because we split home and away." And they scored early in the playoffs. I think it was almost the first minute of the playoff game. They got one in the second to last minute game. But in between that 2 time frame, we were the better team. So it was a little bit maybe of an unjust result. So the guys are really looking to right the wrong tomorrow.
Both of us growing up, and if anybody watches this show on a regular basis with you and I, They know when we were kids,
Yep.
we were hockey guys. And when you were talking about the size of the field, I immediately thought to when we were young in the late 80s, early 90s, the NHL didn't have the same size rinks
Yeah.
for all of the different arenas. So when you go to Boston, their rink was
Tight.
a lot smaller than, and if you were a European player anywhere in the NHL, the rink is so much smaller. Is it going to be that kind of same thing because it's a smaller space? Things get a little more physical.
Oh yeah, because like we tell our guys, your second touch is a tackle because everybody's just so close to you. You know what I mean? And like the hockey, you watch the Olympics, it's so much different. It's just a bigger sheet of ice. You know, the guys have so much room freedom. And when those Russians came over and the Finns came over, they're getting smashed. They had no room. It's going to be just like that for sure.
Well, at least for the people that want to see physical soccer, be sure to tune in to watch the Toppers take on Frostburg State. I believe that's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Be safe on that travel out there. I remember heading there a couple times, talked to Coach Wiley. They're headed to Frostburg as well this coming Saturday. We had one of the big vans from down in maintenance, and nothing was wrong with the vehicle. It was just the grade of going
up
down
and
the hill. It was kind of scary there for a little bit. Not to jump too far ahead, but then Saturday the 21st at 1 p.m. Concord here at West Liberty, another conference opponent. What can we expect to see from Concord?
Concord's undefeated so far. Yeah, so they're went to the NCAA tournament last year. They really pushed Charleston all the way to the final day to get that first place team. They've had a lot of turnover. You know, a lot of guys have transferred out, but at the same time, they had a lot of quality come in. So they've kind of set the bar right now because even now Charleston drew at D&E. So Concord statistically is the number one team in the conference. So you know, last year we were quite handily hammered at their place 4-0, but up here we lost 2-1. We were down to 10 men for like 60 minutes of that game, and it was a much better performance on our end. So it's definitely not going to be easy by any means.
Well, Coach, good luck this coming week. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Again, good luck at Frostburg. That's tomorrow night. The Toppers will go to Frostburg on Wednesday. Then Sunday the 21st, Concord will be coming up. Coach, again, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Folks, stick around, and we'll be right back for more on Inside Hilltopper Athletics, brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling.
From the long-lasting and reliable heating and cooling systems we send out the door, to the friendly and knowledgeable dealers who go the extra mile. With a no-hassle replacement limited warranty, you can trust Day and Night to deliver outstanding service and performance, keeping you a step ahead with advanced technology and exceptional comfort. To find a Day and Night dealer, visit dayandnightcomfort.com.
Welcome back to Inside Hilltopper Athletics, brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling. This segment, women's soccer, and head coach Pete McMenemy. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Tough one this past week. The Toppers took on Fairmont. Fairmont, very, very good squad. A rough loss for them, but was there anything in this game against Fairmont that really kind of stood out in your mind that was positive for the Toppers?
To be honest, there wasn't a lot to be positive about. We were really poor on the day. They were really good on the day. Fairmont will be one of the top teams in the league this year. Just really disappointed with how we executed the game plan more than anything else. I mean, I thought we worked extremely hard. You know, I never doubt that about this group of ladies. They always working extremely hard. It's just in terms of our execution of what we wanted to do from minute one, we were not there at all. And that's probably the most disappointing thing was that we just never executed what we had worked on, you know, the 2 or 3 days in practice leading up to the game.
How has practice and kind of the mentality of the team been since the game against Fairmont?
So obviously we just had training yesterday, and was our first session, and we have another one today. But last night's session was excellent. Sort of, you know, asking why we couldn't see the same performance, you know, in the game Sunday. But in terms of the reaction, you know, we talked to them on Sunday and yesterday about things that we wanted to see improve. And I think the training session last night was the first step in the right direction, positively. So obviously we'll have another good session tonight to prepare for the game on Wednesday.
And Wednesday coming up, the Toppers will take on Wheeling at 7 p.m. here at West Family Athletic Complex. It is also Ohio Valley Soccer Night. I know we've talked about it before, but give you an opportunity again to kind of let the folks out there and the soccer fans in the area know what this is all about.
Yeah, so we having the home game against Wheeling and kind of earlier on in the season, and it being a standalone game with just the women's game happening midweek, I think it gave us a really good opportunity to do something different, to involve a lot of the local soccer community here. Youth soccer, like I've mentioned previously, in this area in the Ohio Valley it's really popular. So we want to try give our younger fans, community members, parents, families an opportunity to come up and watch a game between two local schools, and kind of just enjoy the atmosphere and hopefully we have a really strong game. So it's just an opportunity for everybody to get to know the game. It might be an opportunity for people that haven't been as exposed to soccer or are keen to learn about the game and are interested in the game. Well, you can come up and you can watch a good quality game between two good teams. So we're excited for it, and I hope it's going to be a special night on Wednesday.
What can we expect to see from Wheeling? I know they're a huge rival. That's not going to be too shocking.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be a tough game. But schematically wise, what have you seen on film from that?
So, I think they have a lot of new players. They had a lot of new players come in. A lot of international players. Probably significantly more than what we have on our roster. So we're interested to see. They've played the same amount of games as we have. And ultimately, we both have the same record going into the game. So I think it's both teams will be wanting to try and get a result on Wednesday night. So that to me makes for an exciting prospect, because it's both teams that are going to be chasing the game. They're going to be looking to have an impact and looking to have a goal. So I think it'll be a tough game. These games are never easy at all. It's always a tough competition when you play against your big rival. There's a lot of extra stuff on the line, and I do think tomorrow night, it might be a little bit nervy for both teams at the beginning of the game, but hopefully once the game settles down, we'll be able to establish what we want to do in the game.
Again, folks at home, that'll be tomorrow night, Wednesday, 7 p.m., the West Family Athletic Complex. Get up here to the ASRC, take part in the Ohio Valley Soccer Night, and it's going to be a great game between Wheeling and West Liberty. Coach, again, we're only a few games into this season, not too far in, but so far, what have you seen from your team that you've enjoyed, or what you've liked and how they've progressed?
I think ultimately we've been able to maintain a good level of practice, certainly. I think the biggest thing that we've struggled upon so far is trying to implement that into games. And ultimately that's on us as well as a staff to be able to make sure that everyone's organised and we know exactly what we're doing come the game day. But I do think that I do think it's just been an execution thing. But there's been a lot of good positive individual performances, I think, from some players. There's been one or two players that have gotten an opportunity to go make an impact. I think they've done that. So it's encouraging to me to see players respond from the defeats the way that they have. It's easy to put your head in the sand and kind of just go with the flow and think, oh, it's the end of the world at the time. But I do think so as much as it's disappointing for us, the reaction that we've seen, the positive reaction that we've seen from the group, that's been really, really encouraging for us. So I do think there's a lot more to come for this group, and I think that Wednesday's a great opportunity for us as a team to try and kickstart our season.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. Again, folks, Ohio Valley Soccer Night tomorrow night, 7 p.m., West Family Athletic Complex here on the campus of West Liberty University. West Liberty takes on Wheeling in women's soccer. Coach, again, thank you for being here. Folks, thanks for watching. Stick around. We've got one more segment coming up on Inside Hilltopper Athletics.
From humble beginnings in 1837, West Liberty University has been home to thousands of students. Whether you're a recent high school graduate or looking to complete a college degree later in life, starting your educational career at West Liberty University will be the catalyst for your future. This is a place where you will discover who you are and where you belong, surrounded by lifelong friends and a supportive faculty and staff. Start your journey home at westliberty.edu.
Welcome back to Inside Hilltopper Athletics, brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling. This final segment, the head coach of women's volleyball, Mackenzie Johnson. Coach, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
Quite a busy week this past week, or since the last time I spoke to you.
Yes, it was.
Was there a single day you didn't have some matches?
I think we had maybe 2 of the last week that we weren't, preparing for a match.
Well, the first big one of last week was the home opener against Malone. The Toppers won 3-1 in this one. Cudnick, 18 kills is the big headline. She had a tremendous game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we talked a lot with her on the off season about, her leadership and what it looks like for her to show up and trying to find her groove a little bit earlier. I think last year crossover weekend was her big, I call them like coming out weekends, but I think this past week, and especially with Malone, a few hometown rivals, girls she played club with, so it's always a good time when you know the opponent across the net.
Man, how do you like me now?
Yeah, right?
I don't mind those. The Toppers finished with the advantage in just about every category. 52-36 when it comes to assists. Oh, I'm sorry, that's kills. 51-35 in assists, 64-42 in digs. As a coach, when you see those numbers, stats aren't everything, but how does that make you feel about this one?
Feels good. I think, it's one of those opponents where, we expect to kind of do well and we expect to, hold our own in that sense. So it was good to kind of play in front of our home crowd. I mean, the crowd was they were very active. I think that's the biggest crowd I've seen in the ASRC for a volleyball game in a while. So it's always good to have that kind of support. For, people around campus and that kind of thing. But, stats-wise, I think it's just kind of showing us what we're capable of a little bit earlier on in the season. And that was our big thing, is finding our identity early on.
Oh, the Toppers got another chance to show it off. You go to the Cedarville Invite. The first match you would have is against Saginaw Valley, but just in general, the teams that are in that invite, the level of competition, where do you put that?
Yeah, they were pretty competitive. It was a pretty competitive weekend. I think we had 2 5-set matches out of the 4 that we played. So just seeing the team kind of being able to compete for, 5 sets straight. I mean, I think you get into the later half of the season, and that's when, you kind of get those 4 to 5 set matches. But getting it early on is really figuring out what your team can and cannot handle at that point in a match. But I think the biggest thing, through the losses, through the wins, especially through that Saginaw game, it's just grit. Like, the girls never gave up. I think we were down 7-0 in one of the sets to start, and we ended up only losing by 2. So, we always talk about faster starts, but obviously that can't always happen. But, how well can they compete? How well can they fight back?
And that was going to be kind of my next question with the Saginaw game, just the defensive effort from the girls in this one. They seem to do pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, I think they really wanted it at the end of the day. We prepared well for them as best that we could, but, a 9 o'clock match in the morning is also kind of tough. Not making excuses for the group or anything, but, I told them, hey, we're never going to play another 9 a.m. match all year, so give it what you got. We came up a little bit short, but, that's okay. We competed well.
Well, Saginaw is full of lifelong morning people. It's
yes.
not fair.
Yeah, not us.
We move on from that one to Deauville, one of the best names I get to say all year in any sport. Deauville, a 3-0 win in that one for the Toppers. A great one for them. Speak on that, a little pick-me-up after the Saginaw game.
Yeah, it was just a dominant performance, I think. I think going into it, they were like, okay, we know we don't really have the upper hand here. They didn't play a 5-set match this morning. We did. So, the faster that we can beat them, the team was going to Texas Roadhouse that night. So they're like, the faster we can get to these rolls.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You stole it right from me.
Yeah. So I think that was a little bit of motivation, but, we like to just have dominant performances when we can. And that was just, one of those matches for us.
Yeah. Topper seemed to kind of dominate. They controlled the first 2 sets, just kind of took everybody out in this one. The Toppers go 1-1 at that point. Then UIndy, which I'm reading this stuff. I think anybody that was paying attention the past few months here at West Liberty, hearing the name IU Indy or anything with U Indy, you immediately think one thing. This is not that school. This is University of Indy, so Division II school, I
Yes.
believe. So the Toppers in this one is a thriller. Take us through this match.
It was a roller coaster. I think it was one of those matches that it was kind of a statement piece, I guess, for us. We came in knowing that, we had what it takes, the talent to compete with them, if not beat them in the beginning of the sets, the beginning of the match. So I think just taking it game by game, we always talk about mini games to 5. Each set is 5 mini games to 5. How are you going to win those mini games? But again, it was just a gritty performance by the group. I think in the 4th set it was a must-win 4th set to force a 5th. We were down 9-17 and came back and won. It was like 24-26, 23-25. And I always tell the team, like in those moments, is we have what it takes, and we don't have to be 5 to 10 points better than this team. We just have to be 2 points better. You got to win by 2 in volleyball. So I think that was kind of, maybe the catalyst that they needed to hear at that moment. But just seeing them fight and play consistently and fight consistently is the biggest thing, that is the most thing I'm proud of from that match.
Then the Toppers would move on to face Cedarville. Tough one for the Toppers in this one, lost 3-0, but at the end of the day, the Toppers overall in this, again, the amount of competition you would face, the fight, honestly, that would kind of be, I'm not an expert on this by any means, but just reading up and seeing some of these stats and whatnot, I think fight would be the big word I'd use for all week.
Yeah, for sure. I think, whether we're down, whether we're up, it's, playing consistently, being good teammates, and that's kind of the focus of, when we're competing. Obviously, we didn't really, have the home crowd that Cedarville had, and, we had played close to 13, 14 sets at that point to their, maybe only 9 or 12 to that point. So, not making any excuses, but I think that, we gave what we had in that last match, and unfortunately, it was nowhere near enough.
Well, again, this tournament, it seemed like this invite, it seemed like it was the gamut of everything. You had 2 matches that were just knockdown, drag-out dogfights, a blowout victory, it seemed like, and then one you had to face some stiff competition. And,
For sure.
Just in general, your take on this invite and how things went and the level of competition you got to play.
Yeah, I think, overall, I'm very proud as a coach. I think, obviously, it's an improvement from our first tournament, finishing 1-3. Last weekend we finished 2-2. So we're always talking about how we're going to get better. Every match, every set, every tournament, every invite, whatever that kind of looks like, is how are we going to continue to get better as a group, individually. There's the next man up mentality. We're still, plugging some people in, switching some people out. So just seeing, all 15 of the girls be brought in, whether they're on the bench, on the court, and, helping each other out is the biggest thing. I tell them all the time, it's going to take all 15 of us to win matches.
Oh, you've got Ursuline next. That is tonight at 7 p.m. That'll be at Ursuline, the travel. What's the mentality of the team today?
Take care of business. Get in, get out, and hopefully Panda Express is the kick in the butt they need.
And then this coming weekend, the West Liberty Invitational here at the ASRC, folks. It'll be a women's volleyball bonanza, I guess you could say. For West Liberty, their games will be Friday at 1 p.m. versus Cal, Friday at 6 p.m. versus Clarion, Saturday at 11 a.m. versus Shippensburg, and then also Saturday night at 6 p.m. they take on Gannon. A plethora of PSAC teams. Every team is different. I guess you can't ask for a preview for all of these. We don't have enough time left. I wish we could. But just your take on this week's game and this week's matches and where the team is at right now and their mentality going into them.
Yeah, I think the team's just excited to compete against all regional opponents. I think that, that'll kind of show us where, we stand, if we have a shot postseason, if we don't. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping that it'll give us the confidence that we need. And like you kind of said, last weekend, there's probably going to be a lot more dogfights, match for match, point for point this weekend. So, a weekend full of competing, a week full of competing, we're never going to shy away from the competition.
Well, Coach, thank you for being here with us.
Yeah.
Folks at home, again, be up here for the West Liberty Invitational Friday and Saturday, 1 p.m., 6 p.m. on Friday for West Liberty, then 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturday. Folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Again, this was brought to you by Day and Night Heating and Cooling, and we will see you next time on Inside Hilltopper Athletics.